Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Very warm welcome. Those of you in person and those of you online. Hope they can see me. If there are any problems online, we have an IT person sitting on the computer, Dale, who will take any chats and will wave to me furiously if I jump out of the screen or do something strange that makes your online experience difficult. But we are delighted. We've got a big group online and we've got a slightly smaller group in here. We apologize for the fact that we can't be seated in our auditorium. It's currently undergoing some renovations. We live in we abide here in an old building. Most of the building is old, but the newer part of the building seems to be the part that gives us the most happiness. So we are currently renovating that, but at the end of the presentations tonight, our Executive Director, Professor TWIMS, who's sitting over there, and welcome to you as well, will take you on a tour of the campus. And you will get to see the auditorium, which is a little different to this, although this harks back to our first class actually started their MBA in this room. So it brings back fond memories for them. But we now have a very professional looking auditorium, a first class state-of-the-art facility, which is very similar to what you would find on the Gordon Institute of Business Science campus in Ilovo, and you'll get to see that when you go for a walk around, and that's where the classes would take place. So we're occupying this room for this evening, and those of you online, you're very welcome as well. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here. My name is Lisa Kinnear. I'm the Academic Director for TWIMS and a faculty member of the Gordon Institute of Business Science, as all of our faculty are. And it's very exciting. This is our 5th year of operation at TWIMS. And just looking back when I was thinking about this presentation of how many graduates we've actually seen go through the doors of this program. Go through the doors, I don't know if that's the right expression. But to graduate, to walk up on the stage and get capped and gowned. And that's very exciting for me. So I really hope that we're going to see many of you in the class in future and doing the same. But you really want to know why you're here and what this MBA is all about, and particularly the manufacturing focused MBA. So this is a GIBS MBA. I'll talk a little bit about GIBS more in a minute. But the thing you need to know is that this MBA is in fact the only manufacturing MBA, the only specialized MBA in manufacturing that's offered in South Africa. And it's delivered by GIBS in partnership with TWIMS, the Toyota Vessels Institute for Manufacturing Studies. And I'll tell you a little bit more about TWIMS and who we are in a moment. But that's an important thing to note. So let's just talk about some more specifics about the manufacturing focused MBA. Just 2 things that you need to know. This MBA, unlike all of the other streams of MBAs that GIBS offer, and I'll talk about where that fits in, this particular one is offered on this campus, the TWIMS campus in Kloof in Durban. It is a face-to-face MBA, so you are expected to attend lectures on the campus. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that would look like and the structure of the program. But one of the reasons we believe, and having gone through those dark years, can anyone remember those dark years of COVID, where we were all sat in our rooms and doing online learning and not having any face-to-face contact with anyone? I think as academics and learning professionals, we really know the benefits of learning face-to-face and being in a classroom with each other. And if you were sitting in our auditorium, you'd be sitting in a kind of round space where you would be able to actually see one another. And that's very important because we actually believe in interactive learning, that you learn from your classmates as much as you do from the lecturer standing up in front of you. And so this is the reason why this is a face-to-face program, not an online program. There are great opportunities for online programs, and we know they exist. But they require a different modality, and we've learned through the past experience that you can't mix the two. You can certainly do presentations online like I'm doing tonight, but to get real maximum benefit from your learning experience, the manufacturing-focused MBA is in person, and we spend a lot of time going to visit places and see things and touch and feel things. And that's why the in-person experience is very important. So this is delivered in this beautiful campus that TWIMS will show you around and tell you a little bit more about. at TWIMS, where we have both a wonderful old building, beautiful gardens, and a very state-of-the-art auditorium. And very excitedly, we're going to be having a whole new auditorium next door. If you saw the building when you came in, that's part of TWIMS. We're going to be expanding next year, and we're holding thumbs that the building will be ready. I'm scared to say it, Jens, and May 2023. The other thing you need to know about the manufacturing MBA, which is different from all the other MBAs, is that we are very privileged at TWIMS. We, as the Toyota Education Trust, as part of the Toyota Education Trust, have a very generous scholarship program that awards up to in the region of 20 scholarships for studies of the MBA. So and I'm going to ask my colleague Tobeka Mtembu, who's going to come up at the end of my input to talk in more detail about the Manufacturing Ambassador Scholarship, how you can apply for it, the eligibility to qualify for it. But it's something that we offer and really comes out of our belief and our passion, which I'm going to talk to, for manufacturing in South Africa. So let's just talk about the two institutes that you are here thinking about engaging with in the MBA tonight. And the one is GIBS. And I don't know that GIBS needs much of an introduction. Most people know a lot about GIBS. It's got an excellent brand reputation in the marketplace. But maybe this is a brag slide. Maybe there's some things you didn't know about it. And I'm just going to highlight a few things that we're very proud of. GIBS has a number of accreditations, and they have the very prestigious Triple Crown accreditation, which means that they've been accredited by 3 very significant bodies that accredits MBAs globally. I won't go into the details of that, but I think one of the other things about GIBS that we just recently have heard is that they have been rated by the Financial Mail rankings, first choice for students and employers for 2023. Also an employer's choice for executive education for 2023. So they continuously top the rankings in terms of the MBA they offer. And we obviously at TWIMS have partnered with them because of their leading edge in the executive education space. As you know, the main campus, the Ilogo campus, is in Ilogo, Johannesburg, and it was GIBS was started there to be close to business, and offers obviously a range of programs on that campus. We believe at TWIMS, because of where we're located, we are close to industry. We're close to the biggest port in Africa, and we are close to a number of big manufacturing industries. Obviously, Toyota, as one of our key corporate sponsors, is one of them. And so our differentiation in terms of being located here gives us access to a lot of interesting places to go and visit and to experience manufacturing firsthand. So let's talk about TWIMS then. Hopefully you've heard a bit about TWIMS and you've seen our website and you've maybe seen a bit about us on social media. But we haven't had as long a history as GIBS, but we certainly have got a history. And we started TWIMS, the project was started in 2014 by the Toyota South Africa Education Trust. It was the vision of the late Dr. Johan van Zyl, who was the CEO of Toyota South Africa and then Toyota Europe, and who tragically died during COVID in 2020. And Johan van Zyl had an amazing vision. And the vision was that for South Africa to succeed as a country and as an economy, we need a strong manufacturing base. All developed economies grow off a strong manufacturing base, a strong productive economy. And for our productive economy to thrive and for us to be able to have the kind of South Africa that we want to live in and to create the jobs that we so desperately need, there was this recognition that manufacturing needs a focus. And we need to create and develop strategic leaders of manufacturing. We need to upskill and elevate the leadership capability of manufacturers in South Africa. So there's a very compelling purpose that was the formation of TWIMS. I was involved at the beginning of that with the curriculum development of TWIMS, and
We developed a curriculum that would work hand in hand with the generic business school program, but that would focus on what manufacturers need to drive manufacturing to the next level in South Africa. And so that's our purpose, that's our kind of reason for being. We were very fortunate, not only were we birthed by the Toyota South Africa Education Trust, we are an NPO owned by them, but we were also very lucky and fortunate to have the backing of some great corporates. So just like GIBS is very close to a number of businesses, we are very close to some big manufacturers, Toyota being one of them, Toyota Tsusho Africa, Ilovo Sugar, the Met Air Group, and the Fashini Group. All of these manufacturers have sponsored areas of research and study and faculty members to grow certain capabilities in the manufacturing space. So we've got their backing and we're able to develop our curriculum and check out that our curriculum actually meets the stakeholder needs. We opened this campus in 2018 in this very room. Some of our inaugural students are in amongst you as plants to chat to you at some time. And to date, we started with 16 students. To date, we have had 100 PG students graduate. And I'll talk to you about the PG DIP and MBA year just now. And we've just reached the 50 MBA graduate mark. And one of the things we are most proud of is that we consistently, year on year, bag the top academic awards for research, for the top students in MBAs. We get a number of awards, top students in the PG DIP year. Some of those are sitting here, and we get a number of subject awards. So what we know is we feel like we punch above our weight, and that manufacturers are smart people with a lot to offer in terms of management capability. At TWIMS, not only do we run the MBA, that's our pinnacle program that we run in partnership with GIBS, but we also offer a number of short executive programs in areas that we have focused on. And we also provide the space here. The space here is almost a learning community for the manufacturing community. So we arrange a number of events, seminars, networking events for learning engagements with the manufacturing community. So we don't only run the MBA. So let me talk a little bit more about what this MBA journey would look like. I've spoken about something called the PG DIP, and that's really where your MBA journey starts. But in actual fact, it starts before that. Your decision to join or to start an MBA comes with the realization that you want to do something different in your career. You want to either move into something new, or you just feel like you want to build the sort of academic credibility that you've got, or take your career to the next level. So typically, the people in our classes would be sitting here with 5 years of experience at least, and they would have had some management experience, and that's really important. You also have to write an entrance assessment exam with GIBS, psychometric assessment exam, so that there's a gateway into the program, because we want everybody who joins this program to succeed, and we want the quality of students in the classroom to be valuable, because we need diversity in the classroom, but we need a level of candidate for the kinds of engagement and learning that we want to take place. Because as I said to you, the most important thing in the classroom is not just your lecturer. Maybe the lecturers think they are, but actually it's the community that you're learning with. So that's important. You need to have a degree at NQF 8 level, 5 years of experience, and you need to pass the GIBS entrance assessment to join the PG DIP. You then join a year-long program, which is the foundational year for the MBA. And so you start that in March. It's not exactly a year, it's actually just slightly less of a year, 9 months. Start that in March, and that period of study ends in November. The PG DIP year is a foundational year for the MBA. It's curriculated at an honours NQF 9 level, and what you would do in your PG DIP year are standard business school type subjects, and you do them in a modular format. So you'd study a number of subjects: financial management, marketing, human behavior, a number of generic business school subjects. The only thing you would do in this year that really starts to give you the manufacturing flavor is a year-long project called your Applied Business Project. But you would be learning with manufacturing students, and you'd have a lot of manufacturing discussions about case studies and things like that. But the real manufacturing focus kicks in your MBA year. And that year, it starts in the January of the following year. So should you achieve 60% average in your PG dip year, you qualify to continue on to the MBA year. If you don't achieve that for some reason, or for some reason you can't continue with your studies, you do exit the PG dip with a qualification. But most people, the aim is you sign up for the 2 years to continue on to the MBA. And that program starts off with some generic courses, and I'll explain how those generic courses are designed, because they're a little bit different from your PG dip year, obviously. Now you enter a year where you're looking at things from a much more strategic perspective and a much more integrated perspective. But this is the year where your focus comes into play, and you will spend half of the year doing electives that are manufacturing focused, which start in May. You will also go on a global module, and that global module is designed around the manufacturing theme or manufacturing themes of study. And you will do a research project, which is part of the requirements of an MBA, and that research dissertation will have a manufacturing focus. And that research project is handed in the March of the following year. So it's a 2-year program from March to March, 24 months. But it covers, so if you were to start next year in 2024, you would hand in your research dissertation for your MBA in 2026, in March 2026. I will take questions. I find it easier just to go through everything, and if you've got questions, please jot them down. Okay, so let's just look a little bit at the MBA focus areas and how that would look. There are a number of focus areas that GIBS offers. GIBS offers a generic MBA for people who just wanted to generalize. They offer MBAs in areas like healthcare, consulting, entrepreneurship, and we are here talking about the manufacturing MBA run on this campus. So the MBAs the design looks like this, right? A lot of leadership you'll see around the design of the program, and those leadership elements are in the form of coaching and leadership engagements. And then 4 key business pillars that you study. And these represent the integration of a number of subjects that you studied at PG dip level. And the integration of those subjects and the pitching of them at a higher, more strategic level. I'll talk about that just now. Once you've gone through those 4 areas, you then get into choosing your electives. In the manufacturing MBA, you've got a more limited choice because it's a specialized MBA. So you choose 5 electives out of a suite of 7, and they all have a manufacturing theme. And they are designed around our manufacturing curriculum. You then do your manufacturing, so the manufacturing focus, you can see there's the purple. You go on your global module in October. You do your manufacturing research focus project. You come back for a roundup of your integrated simulation project, and then you hand in your research. And that's the end of your journey. So let me just explain to you a little bit about the philosophy behind the MBA year. These are the 4 generic modules that you do in your MBA year. Can anyone tell me, when you look at those 4 modules, anything that you notice about those 4 modules that you might have sort of seen, anything that you expected to see that you don't see up there? You would be studying in an MBA from the generic component of the course. People are too scared to say it because it's the subject they don't like. They like the sorry?
Finance.
Spot on. Finance. Where's the finance? He's not coming to do an MBA. You're teaching us how to run a business and there's no finance. So this is part of the GIBS philosophy. Is once you will do finance, you'll do finance, believe me, you'll do finance in PG dip year, and you'll write exams. But once you get into your MBA year, the idea is that you're now thinking like a strategic business leader. He doesn't think in silos. They think in an integrated way. When you're solving a problem as a business leader, you're not thinking about the finance portion. You maybe have finance people who think about that and help you. But you're thinking about how to run and lead a business. And so the courses are designed in this way, in a very integrated way. First of all, the environment of business is about the landscape, the strategic landscape. How do you scan the landscape? What's out in the environment that you need to be watching for? And that's all about strategy. Innovation and design is really, okay, you've scanned the landscape, now you've got to think about what products, what platforms, what decisions are you going to make about how you position your business? And so the systemic nature of integrating the number of subjects that you've learned in PG Dip kicks in here. That's where you'll see things like marketing coming into innovation and design, strategy coming into environmental business. Once you get to decision making, that's where you've got to assess what decisions are you going to take in your business, what risks and rewards are you going to look at, and this is where finance kicks in. So finance is in there, but it's around how do we make decisions around these things. And then finally, how do you mobilize people to actually implement the strategy? And this is where you'll see things like your human behavior, strategy implementation coming into play. So it's the systemic nature of the design of the way in which we teach that is followed through into the manufacturing curriculum as well. So once you've gone through your generic subjects in the MBA, you then get to choose your suite of electives. And the manufacturing curriculum has been designed in a similar way. We believe that it hangs together, much like this house that you see. And so we teach in fields that all relate to one another, starting off with the idea that manufacturing needs a specific type of leadership. And particularly, there are some inclusivity issues that are important in all businesses, but they have a particular context, a particular relevance in manufacturing. So inclusive leadership. You're dealing with multiple stakeholders in manufacturing, multiple stakeholders with multiple skills levels. We have a huge issue around gender in manufacturing, and we address that through our electives in gender transformation. The pillars underneath the leadership house represent strategic focus areas, strategic issues that leaders in manufacturing need to be grappling with. They're thinking about taking manufacturing into the next century. Things like future of manufacturing, Industry 4.0. What disruptors are coming down the track in terms of technology and digitization? Green manufacturing. How sustainably are we manufacturing? How are we reporting on the sustainability? How are we responding to environmental legislation? What are we doing about being carbon neutral? And then what about positioning ourselves in Africa? What about the opportunities as well as the responsibility as manufacturers in Africa? What does that look like, and how do we support the industrialization and development of Africa, operating from South Africa as manufacturers and in Africa as manufacturers? And then, of course, our foundations, which are critical. We can't do all of these strategic things if we aren't superb at our efficiencies and our effective operations. And this is where our focus on lean operations and lean supply chain comes into our suite of electives. So you will choose electives that span this curriculum. That will give you the manufacturing focus. You'll then go on the global module that will span this curriculum and expose you to a number of issues in a global destination and how they're thinking about these issues. And your MBA research report will touch on something relating to one of these issues in the manufacturing environment. So who delivers this manufacturing specialization? I don't have all the GIBS faculty members on this page. You can go to the GIBS website if you want to check them out, but there are a lot of them, and they fly in to teach you on the PG Dip, or they fly in from Joburg, or some of them are local. I'm here and I do a lot of GIBS teaching. I do a lot of the teaching on the PG Dip. But when it comes to the manufacturing specialization, TWIMS is the place where the manufacturing faculty reside and are located. We're not all located physically here, we're all around the country, but many of us are located here. And we have specializations in the areas that we've explained in the curriculum. So you see a number of people up there, myself, Professor Pulsar, and then all of the faculty that you see up there who deliver programs in the manufacturing curriculum have a particular connection with one of our corporate sponsors. And we believe this is really valuable because it keeps us engaged in industry and what's happening in industry. We have a fantastic support team at TWIMS who make your life, believe me, they're the most important people in your life when you do an MBA. They make your life a pleasure because they're on the ground helping you with all the administrative issues and anything, and they help us tremendously as faculty. And that's Robin Green, Andrea Govender, and Tobeka Mtembu, who's going to talk to you about the MAS, who's our program coordinator and MAS administrator. Back in Joburg at Gibbs, you've got obviously a big institution with a number of people backing what's being delivered here, people who run the programs, oversee the academic delivery, although we oversee it here on the ground. We engage directly with Gibbs and their team back there, and this is some of the people that you might have contact with, particularly JD Bosman, if you are applying for the MBA. She's the admissions person that you may want to speak to at some stage. So I know the big question. I'm not gonna stop for questions right now. Stop for questions at the end. So I hope you're asking if you have any. The big question is, how much time do I have to dedicate to this program? And yes, it is a big time commitment. But we hope by the end of this we've convinced you that it's worth it. So the way in which the manufacturing block release or the manufacturing MBA is run is through a block release, which means that you take a period of work and you come and immerse yourself in the TWIMS campus to study. And I think the alumni and students who studied before, as much as this is a challenge to juggle your work-life balance here, it's a real privilege to be able to come and immerse yourself into studying. And it actually is a way in which you really get the richness of studying, because you kind of, for a block, for 10 days or less, you are here completely focused with your fellow students and faculty. So yes, the time is a heavy commitment. That's what the timetable looks like for 2024 for the PG DIP. You can see the sort of darker blue colors of the blocks. So there are 5 blocks in the year, starting in March. The first block is always a long block, 10-day block. They get progressively shorter towards the end of the year, but they're between 10 and 4 days. And in between you write exams. And there you can see the sort of standard subjects that you would be covering in the PG DIP year. You obviously have to do a lot of work in between. That's not the only time you're working, believe me, doing project assignments, syndicate meetings, and you do something called an applied business project that spans the whole year. That's for the PG DIP year. Once you get to the MBA, it looks like this. So this is the MBA timetable for next year, starting in January. You do your 4 blocks of those integrated subjects. That takes you to May. You then do your electives from June until September. The electives are run a little bit differently. They are 3 days, so they're a shorter, you do 5 electives over 3 days, and they typically run over a weekend and one of the weekdays, either a Monday or a Friday, so that you don't have to take too much time off work. You go overseas for 10 days. Last 2 years, we've run a very successful global module to the UK. The students have just come back and they're always blown away. They spend time going to facilities over there, as well as institutes. And they go to something called the Institute for Manufacturing Studies in Cambridge, which is what we want to be when we grow up. So they come back blown away by the opportunities, the possibility, and the realization that we are doing some great things here, and that we're not, as South Africans, too far behind the curve, and that's what we're learning is relevant, and it's a real affirmation of what we bring to the table. Well, obviously, throughout this time, you start to think about your research project and work on your research project, and you have some big deadlines in August, and then your final submission in March. So, if you are interested, where do you go from here? And then I'll open up the floor for questions to me before I hand over to Tobeka. You need to check on the Gibbs website. You apply through the Gibbs website. You can go in via TWIMS, but it will take you to the Gibbs website because it is a Gibbs MBA. Choose a manufacturing MBA. make sure you meet the admissions criteria. You can apply online. You have to pay a small application fee. You have to write the entrance test. You have to submit an essay, a short essay for the manufacturing MBA with references, and you will be given feedback from the admissions team, the people that are sitting in admissions in Johannesburg. So I hope I've really whet your appetite. And we're going to do a little bit more of that. First of all, before we do, I'm going to ask Tobeka to come and talk to you about the scholarship, which is something to really consider for every single person sitting in this room, if you're thinking about funding. And then I'm going to ask one of our inaugural members, who was one of the first MBA students, and we've got a few of our students sitting here in the class, or past students, they're alumni, they're not students, sorry. Because really the best is to hear from them, to hear about their experience. So they're going to share that with you. But are there any practical questions for me before I hand over to Tobeka? If the answer means I've made it as clear and you all sound and not concerned about, you know, why it's face to face. I know some people, I don't have questions beforehand, so I know some people have those kinds of questions. But yeah, if there are any other questions after this, I'll be around. You're welcome to chat to me about those. Okay, Tobeka.
Good evening, everyone. I am here to present on the TWIMS Manufacturing Ambassador Scholarship that we offer here at TWIMS. Okay, so firstly, the applications for the scholarship are open to all South African citizens who are interested in manufacturing and also the related industries. So what are the benefits of the scholarship? So per year, the scholarship covers up to 20 students. For the PGDIP year, it covers 50% of the tuition and also the residential fees. So if you choose to stay in our accommodation during the class and also during the exams, we cover 50% of that fee. For the MBA year, the scholarship covers 70% of the tuition, the residential fees, and also the global motor. So the process of the application, it's a dual process. You must first apply at GIBS, as Lisa has mentioned. The applications for admissions at GIBS for the manufacturing focus stream, it comes with its own cost that you must cover. So that you cover on your own. So your application fee and also the deposits that you pay after you have been provisionally accepted into the program. The second part of the application process, you must then apply for the scholarship on the TWIMS website. So what you need to attach on your application, you will have to attach your CV, including the 2-page CV. It must also include your outreach and also your voluntary work. The second thing that you attach in your application is the motivational letter. And the topic for the motivational letter this year is explain how you identify as a manufacturing ambassador and what challenge or challenges you aim to address in the future as a manufacturing leader. During the adjudication process, the manufacturing ambassador committee, they look at 3 things. So they look at the strength of your GIBS application, which are the results from the entrance test that you write. They look at the CV that you attach on your application at the TWIMS website, and also the motivational letter. The closing dates of these applications are, for the scholarship, the applications will close on the 24th of November 2023, and the applications for the GIBS manufacturing focused MBA is the 28th of November 2023. Okay. Are there any questions with regards to the scholarship?
When does one then get feedback?
Okay, so we will get the feedback if they are accepted or not by the 15th of December, and then you will have until January to accept in line the offer.
Is that all? Okay, thank you.
Thank you to them. So now it gives me great pleasure to invite the chairperson of our Alumni Association and inaugural student who sat in this very room at the back there and complained about the air conditioner. It was not this air conditioner, it was another one that kept breaking. And I'm going to ask her to remember back to those fond days and just share her experience of the manufacturing MBA. We're also delighted to have some other past students, alumni with us, Warren Sachs and Sisi Damini. And I'm not going to give them the floor because they'll be here all night. But afterwards, if you want to all chat and you want to pick anybody's brains, you're welcome to. But thank you very much, Priya Governed.
I don't need that. But I didn't need that.
Okay.
Well, I'll try. Hey, it's hard not to stand up here and not think about, is this for marks? So good evening, Professor Pelser, Dr. Leah, TWIMS team, and a fellow alumni and potential students who are here in person and online. It's wonderful to be here. This was our lecture room for the whole year. And I did complain about the air conditioning at the back, and I still needed to sit at the back. So I think I just made peace with the aircon. So standing up here does feel like being back in lectures again. So when I was asked to speak at this evening, I wondered what it was that I could share with you that you would not receive in a brochure or LinkedIn pages or from the very comprehensive presentations that were done here today. And how do I communicate what the GIBS manufacturing focus MBA meant for me in a way that convinces you that this is the next step in your development? Commitments like the MBA require something more than a signature on a piece of paper and funding, which has been covered already. And my conclusion, it requires heart and the burning desire to follow a dream. And what you will not find in a brochure, sorry, Lisa, is the story of the heart and the importance of that in the decision-making process. So why the heart? Simply put, regardless of your intentions at the start, the 2-year MBA is a 2-year labor of love. And when you no longer have physical strength, you will turn to the oasis within your heart to show up courage, renew your hope, and fortify your spirit, to push yourself over the line, time and time again. Individual assignments, syndicate assignments, every exam, and ultimately the final submission, your research report. There's no doubt that the demands on your time will seem wild and at times impossible. And if, like me, you've got 2 young ones, even 1 young one, even 4 babies, there's the additional factor of mom guilt or dad guilt, and the rebalancing and the juggling that comes with it. My advice for those moments, which I wish I knew back then, is to accept that balance is not about staying in equilibrium every single moment. Sometimes acknowledging that you are temporarily out of balance and still working towards it will be more helpful and is more helpful than trying to force balance. So in other words, there are times when the MBA studies will take 100% of your time and effort at the expense of other things. And there are times when family will consume all your time, and times when paid work commitments consume your time. And as long as overall, over a period of time, which is about 2 years in this case, that you have balance overall and haven't dropped any of the crystal balls in your life, you will be okay. So instead of micromanaging your balance, try to take a big picture view of it. The reality is that growth cannot be achieved without some pain. As Theodore Roosevelt said, nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty. He goes on to say, I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well. So you need to want this MBA with both your head and your heart. And that will allow you to endure the valleys of despair, which we had a few. Cecilia can attest to that. And trust that you will summit the peaks and behold the views at the top. So I'd like to take a few minutes to share with you how I made my decision to apply for the MBA. As Lisa mentioned, I was part of the inaugural group. So I did not have the benefit of gleaning insights from other students. So for me, it all started with a chance encounter with Professor Justin Barnes, right here at TWIMS. And he went on with a lot of, like, similar to Lisa's passion that she's demonstrated this evening, went on to explain the vision for the program and how I could benefit from it. As a finance person wanting to be taken more seriously in the world of manufacturing, I thought that the MBA would give me the manufacturing credentials to become a more well-rounded leader. Like love at first sight, I was hooked without knowing all, actually without knowing any of the details. I recall that I rather flippantly and naively assumed that nothing could be more difficult than the board exams I wrote to become a chartered accountant back in early 2000s. And without going into the detail, let's just say that within a month of starting the course, I ate my fair share of humble pie. Looking back, I realized that ignorance was bliss. And if I really understood the demands that the course would have on both me and my family, I probably wouldn't have applied. The full-day lectures, combined with assignments, fighting with syndicate members whilst trying to stay on top of work and family commitments, meant that there were regular bouts of inadequacy and self-doubt. Within the first month of PGW, I realized that the board exams had nothing on the MBA. After all, I wrote the board exams in my early 20s, whilst living in the comfort of my parents' home, having 3 meals a day provided for me without a second thought, and having no other responsibilities except myself. In comparison, I came into the MBA at the age of 40 with a full-time job and 2 young children, a completely different context. It was a reality check that it wasn't just about my intellectual ability, but also my emotional and mental stamina. Resourcefulness, grit, determination, and courage, things that I didn't need to consciously consider as an undergraduate university student. So I'm sharing the tough part with you because typically you see the beginning and the end, especially with social media, but not the messy stuff in the middle. So you may ask, did the benefits outweigh the costs? Absolutely. With hindsight, everything worked out as it should have, to teach me the lessons that were still undiscovered about myself. I had to teach myself a new level of acceptance, both for myself and others. And I think if I do a deeper reflection, it was the start of a new journey of self-awareness, self-belief, and I dare say self-love. So over and above the academic lessons and all those wonderful electives, green, lean, mean, etc., I can assure you that your heart will learn lessons about yourself and that it could never learn that in any other context. We're better to have experienced the journey, but here, nestled in the unique and supportive environment created by TWIMS. The immersive nature of this course, Lisa's mentioned that, sets it apart from many other MBA programs. Attending lectures is a non-negotiable, as I found out, because I wanted to skip the finance lectures. And it's told, no. And that builds discipline. In a small environment like this one, you get to know each other on a personal level. That is true. Your fellow students become your family. Each experience a drop in the glue that holds you together. There are many stories to illustrate the point, but I'll share one example, which I think was a unique one for our year. In 2019, we had the shock of being the inaugural group working in an environment that was unfamiliar for both TWIMS management and ourselves. But we figured it out, and we entered 2020 thinking that we had it figured out, we knew how we were going to navigate this course, and then COVID hit us. And being the inaugural group and by default the guinea pigs, we were leading the way, even though we were in the eye of the storm and pretty blind. Suddenly we were back at the start, where we knew not what to expect. And what gave us strength was having each other to lean on, as well as TWIMS leadership that supported us in our request to give faculty around timelines and extensions, and also just being there to listen to the many stories and the many challenges. And that is the big advantage of TWIMS. Leadership is accessible, needs have faces, classrooms are small, intimate environments, a safe space for being vulnerable and open to learning. And most importantly, you can be assured that this is a fun environment, and there will be many moments where you laugh with and at each other. And for us, our year, many of the students have found friends for life. So my message to you is that you will get information from many sources, some designed to inspire you, some designed to scare you. But ultimately, if you are ready to grow in all aspects of your being, then this is the course for you. And I'd like to leave you with something that is very close to my heart. It's an extract of from the book called The Alchemist. It's one of my favorite novels. About a shepherd that goes out into the world to follow his dream. I quote, "Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity." Okay. Let's have a proud moment. Now alumni present such inspirational words. Thank you, Priya. And if you want to get all those stories and all the sort of dirty gossip and whatever about the faculty and anything else you want, there's Priya, there's Warren, and there's Nosihle to talk to as well. But if there are no questions on the practical side of things, then I'm going to ask Professor TWIMS Pelser, our Executive Director, to take you on a journey of this establishment, to take you on a tour. It's not quite a journey, the MBA is a journey. Unless there's anything else that people want to ask.
There's
Sorry.
2 questions on.
2 questions online. Okay, great.
The first one, can you apply for the scholarship if you're starting at MBA level, not PG level?
No, no, you can't. It's for entry at PG level. Okay.
The next question, I have an MBA general, but I'm considering a manufacturing focused MBA. Will I need to start at PG level? Will I get some credits on certain modules?
So if you have your PG dip from GIBS and it's the standard PG dip and you've done it in the last 5 years, you would probably go directly onto the MBA program. There's something called the MBA Direct where you can do that. But if your PG dip or your MBA comes from another institution, you would have to actually submit all the documentation to GIBS. You would need to speak to the admissions person, and they will review your credits. It's about recency of doing the course and about whether whether the learning objectives match the learning objectives of the course that we have designed, because they have to be the same, otherwise you obviously are set up at a disadvantage. So you occasionally can get some credits, but quite often they won't transfer from one institution to another, or if you've done a PG dip or MBA 10 years ago, for example, where they've recurriculated things quite dramatically. I hope that answers the question. Okay, great. Thank you. Professor Walter.
I just want to say in closure. Thanks, Lisa. All right. Good evening, everybody. Here's Pelser, Executive Director of TWIMS. It's quite a privilege to stand in front of this group, as well as the people online. I would like to thank Dr. Lisa Knier for her presentation. Also would like to thank Rebecca for explaining to us the mass. And you know, the important thing why we're calling mass the Manufacturing Ambassador Scholarship. You know, when you go through this program, we want to see you to become manufacturing ambassadors. You're going into practice in a manufacturing environment where you become ambassadors, because that was the vision of the late Dr. Johan van Zyl, so that we can industrialize and retake what we have lost in South Africa when we talk about industrialization. We understand how important manufacturers are in the place of job employment. We also understand the ecosystems involved. We understand competitiveness in terms of the global economy, how important it is for us to actually be in the forefront with manufacturing. Otherwise, we just become a financial services hub. And we've seen it even with advanced economies like the UK, where you lose a lot of your expertise because of that. So I would encourage everyone to think very hard and carefully what your role will be when you go through this path, eventually ending up at a place where you can make a huge difference in a manufacturing environment. So many people dependent on you. So many people are looking up for leadership as well as talent to be able to change over the industry so that we can turn this country around and also empower Africa to become more industrialized. So, Priya, thank you for your very passionate words and also for the alumni that sits here. And I think you've seen the house diagram that Lisa have presented. You know, it started with this mansion, homestead or manor, as it's also known, Crowers. And the history around it, it's the building from the original Sir Guy unit. Now, if you think about Sir Guy unit, the sugar baron, his granddad had actually brought industrialization in the sugar industry in South Africa. And Queen Elizabeth have even knighted Sir Guy Hewlett. And the Natal Shark Sport have even been started. So the implication for an individual in a manufacturing environment is not only in a sector of manufacturing, it's in the whole community if you become an industrialist. And I think that's very important. Many successful industrialists have the ability to actually uplift the community. And why is Toyota involved? Bert Wessels bringing in Toyota in 1960. He's a very famous South African industrialist. And now with Toyota South Africa Educational Trust that's supporting this initiative. Now you've got this building, talking about the building diagram, the building from Sir Guy Hewlett, and we're merging it with Bert Wessels Trust. Two very important industrialists combining here. And it's very satisfying to be in this place where we can actually build onto something. And that's where, if you look at a house, Lisa start with the leadership, which is the roof. I like the principle of the foundation. Those foundations have been set by those two very important industrialists. The one in agriculture, sugar, and the other one in automotive. But it's an ecosystem that touches on everybody. So unfortunately for the people online, you're going to miss on the site tour, but I would like to invite you when you're around to knock on my door, and I will give you a tour if you're on the Kloof campus. The others that are here tonight, I will gladly take you and show you the auditorium and the other facilities. So once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, and we look forward for you applying and to see you in the class. Thank you so much.